Hello and welcome to the Ranking Stat Podcast, the Rap Podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Shane.
And we're back after a week's hiatus. We weren't able to record last week, so apologies for that. And we actually caught some heat for it from readers and listeners.
Unbelievably, people are listening.
And reading our blog, so we didn't even manage to get our normal weekly preview blog out. So.
Yeah, we really should apologize. But you were jet setting, you got things to do. And I was lost somewhere, I think.
Exactly.
I got no excuse.
Anyway, we're going to try and maybe get another podcast out before Christmas, but it's going to rely on whether we can get Skype recording for us. But we can see.
Technology,
and if it sucks, then don't blame us. Blame Donald Trump, who's going to shut down the internet.
It's his fault.
Or parts of it.
Always.
Anyway, so it's week 15. It's the playoffs, baby.
That's the most important thing, yeah?
I know.
Essentially?
Essentially 2 weeks of fantasy football remaining. Yep. Unless you're in shitty leagues like I am, where their final is played in week 17.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'm in 2 of them, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Write to your commissioner now. I mean, what was it, a few years ago when was it Manning sat out?
Yeah.
Every year somebody sits out. And
there's going to be a lot that are going to sit out this time, I think, because there are lots that are, the Panthers are going to probably be out.
Sit everybody.
Broncos probably.
Oh, yeah, depending, yeah.
Pats.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're not going to have many of the superstars playing. So anybody's in a league like that, write to your commissioner, stage a coup d'etat, whatever you need to do.
I think so.
Change it up for next year.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Anyway,
so how did you do?
Things.
Yeah, how did you do in week 14?
I was afraid to look, Sam. I mean, we missed last week, so the listeners don't know that I actually missed the playoffs in one of my leagues. So I only had 2 teams going last week. I won't reminisce too much about the league I missed the playoffs in because it was a travesty of justice. The greatest 20-team league ever. And I somehow lost the 2 weeks and missed the playoffs. Anyway, bigger, better things. My 2 leagues that I made the playoffs in, I won. So I am still alive in both. I didn't deserve to win either. My teams are awful.
Wait, you deserved to win in your 20-team league and didn't, and in the 2 that you didn't deserve to win, you did.
This is the pain of fantasy football, isn't
it? It is, yeah.
I mean, I had guys in my NFL column. I had the Des Bryants of the world playing. I just had a crappy lineup, but each team just had enough, yeah? So in our league, I had Jarvis Landry basically single-handedly win me the week. In my NFL league,
because you were down a lot going into Monday's game,
God,
right?
Yeah, I needed every point he got. I think I won by 2, right? And we got awful scores. Like it was like 98, 96. I believe you scored like 160, 170.
I was on 174, something like that.
So just to give you an idea of how bad I did and still won, I got about half the points you got.
There you go.
And still won. In the NFL, I had actually another Dolphin carry me. Lamar Miller had just enough first half handoffs before the team self-destructed again. And abandoned the
God, it's a dumpster fire down in Miami.
I don't understand. Keep running the ball, man. Like, how many offensive coordinators and coaches do they have to go through before they learn?
But that's what I was listening though. That on around the NFL podcast, they were going, okay, fine. So, at what point do you think is it a problem with the coordinators, or is it a problem with Lamar Miller? Because he's now gone through 3 or 4 coordinators now.
It is kind of. I mean, I even saw something. I didn't see the coach's comments, but the coach mentioned that he was a little dinged up.
Okay.
And then they asked Miller about it, and he said, "No, I'm fine."
Really?
So I don't really know. So there was something about that he might have been rested because he was a little hurt. But so I don't know. You might have a point. Like maybe there is a Miller.
Is he a coach killer?
It could be. It could be. Regardless, he helped win me the league.
Good.
The week, sorry, the league. Dream a dream. And yeah, so I'm alive in 2 leagues, going towards the semifinals.
Nice.
How about yourself?
I went 3-0 again.
This is like a running theme.
It's a running theme, man. I am absolutely dominating this year.
Peaking at the right time.
So I won 2 playoff games and ensured the playoffs in the other one.
All right, sure,
so this is one of the shitty ones that's in the. So and in that one, I'm in a bye.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not in a bye. I've got to play the first week of the playoffs because 2 other teams have got byes. 4 other teams have. I finished 3rd or 4th.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
I think 3rd. Yeah, no, this is in the 16-team league. I think I finished 4th. So actually, I had the 2nd best record overall, but finished 2nd in my division.
Okay.
So there's 3 divisions, something like that. Even 4 divisions of 4. Anyway, so so I've got to play in week 15 in that one. The other ones, I got a really satisfying win in our dynasty league. I got a really satisfying win against the team that beat me in week 13.
All right. A little revenge week.
It was a revenge week. He beat me by, I think, 2 points in week 13, so I smacked him upside the head by 35 points.
Yeah, you put a
week
170
14.
spot up there, man.
I was happy with that one.
That
I was very happy.
Highest score in the league, by the way.
There you go. So I'm happy. I mean, there's a fourth league as well I was kind of in and took interest in later on. So out of the 4 leagues I was in this year, I got to the playoffs in all 4.
Well done, buddy.
And hopefully the finals in at least 2. Okay, now it's time to look at some underrated and overrated players, and we're going to do it a bit differently this week because, well, it's playoffs and we thought it would be worth looking at some more people in a bit more depth.
Yeah, I don't think people care what they're really ranked at. They just want to know if they should be in there, if they're off the radar when they should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's get right to it because we don't have to go through reviews for last week.
No, because we didn't have any reviews last week. So we can spend a bit more time on some looking forward for this one.
So let's just look to this week, my friend. Who do you like? I guess we'll go with underrated in general.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I was trawling some of the rankings and I was trying to pick out people that I thought, they're way too low. And someone I came across was Theo Riddick. So I was looking at Dave Richard, and he had him down at 33rd.
Right.
So I mean, he's out of probably flex option there.
Yeah,
he's
everywhere.
even. But I for some reason I like him. I mean, it's not as if he's been amazing this season. He's got very few running yards. I think he's only got 110 running yards all season, which for a running back is a bit sort of weird. But catching, he's got 620.
Yeah, he's a PPR machine.
He's a PPR machine. New Orleans can't defend against running backs. Well, actually, they couldn't defend against a ghost. Anyway, they couldn't defend it against a dead mongoose.
So yeah, you want to get your offensive players in there against New Orleans.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that he's going to have lots of opportunity to pick up yards. They're dead last against running backs, I think now.
Right.
I think he's good. I think he's got a good option. He's got a chance for probably 60, 70 yards, 4 receptions, and possibly a touchdown. So that's going to give you 16 points.
He's got a really high floor because of these catches, right? Especially in a PPR. He's like the new Danny Woodhead, right?
Right, he is, because Danny's falling off a cliff.
Dying, I know. Killing me, by the way, in one of my leagues. But yeah, I think with a guy like Riddick, you know you're going to get like 4 or 5 catches a week.
Yeah.
And he can go off for 10 sometimes, right?
Exactly.
So if you're in a PPR, I mean, I think he's a no-brain starter, really.
I would say so. I mean, I see his floor this week in PPR at sort of 10 points and his ceiling at sort of 16 to 18 range. Maybe even more.
Yeah, he could break 20 if he gets the sneaky touchdown.
Yeah, if he gets a sneaky touchdown. I mean, I think he's only got 3 on the year. But
he's the kind of guy that I would have in my lineup. Anywhere in PPR, I would have to have him in there.
Yeah, I think so.
For sure. Yeah.
How about you?
I'll talk about running backs as well here. Looking over in Seattle.
Ooh.
Bryce Brown has resurfaced in Seattle.
Yeah, they're kind of going through running backs there like it's out of fashion.
Yeah, there's this little attrition thing going on. So yeah, we know Rawls went out with a broken ankle. And we saw last week, that DeJuan Harris, is that his name? Come in and pick up the carries. I'm pretty sure he got a fumble at some point in the game. And surprisingly enough, the guy who was probably expected to be the lead back this week was cut last night.
Wow.
I noticed. So really all he has to compete with is Fred Jackson. 34-year-old Fred Jackson, who is, I mean, he's a third down back.
Right.
So Bryce Brown is almost guaranteed to get you 10 to 15 carries.
You think so?
It's a Seattle offense which relies on the run.
It's going to be interesting to see actually this week with rules out whether they do rely on Brown and to a lesser extent Jackson, or whether they just pop it in the air like they have been.
Yeah, I mean you're right. I mean the passing game has looked magnificent. I haven't got a word. But I can't see. I mean I think Bryce Brown has got to book a 10-point floor here, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you get a touchdown or 2, which is always possible with this offense, right? I mean, they've been scoring it through the air mostly recently. But
Rawls is, when Rawls was healthy, he was burning up the place.
This is it. So, I mean, if you've got Bryce Brown as an available guy for you, and you're looking for a flex play, he's a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah.
I'd pop him in there for sure, yeah. I mean, it's Seattle. They're going to run the ball.
Sure.
I think. Overrated?
Overrated. I think one guy that I would be a bit sort of worried starting this week, I think, is Amari Cooper. Actually, I was looking at the stats, and it's actually Crabtree that's the number 1 wide receiver there in terms of fantasy points this year so far, mainly because of the touchdowns. Cooper gets the yards, and if you look at his yardage over Crabtree, it's a lot more. Okay, he didn't get it against Denver. He went catchless and I think even targetless.
Yeah.
but he's got a lot fewer touchdowns on the season. He's only got 4 compared to Crab's 7.
Right.
He's be going up against Green Bay,
Mm-hmm.
so you'd expect them to be able to shut down 1, but not 2, I would guess.
Right.
So I kind of prefer Crabtree over Cooper this week.
Yeah, I've got Cooper in 2 of my team. Well, one of them was the 20-team league, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah.
I'm benching him in my NFL.
Really?
Well, he's kind of been hurting for the last few. He's kind of hit the rookie wall, I think.
Yeah.
It happened a few weeks ago. Suddenly his production really just nosedived. Nosedove?
Nosedoved, yeah. Nosedived.
Nosedived is probably the word.
Divided.
And I'm scared to start him. I mean, I've got both him and Dez were my guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't count on either of them at the moment. Which I guess...
So Dez as well as someone else you're worried about.
Yeah, this is actually my overrated.
Yeah, exactly.
God, how did I get there?
Segueing.
See how I did that?
Perfect segue.
I didn't even mean to. But yeah, I think Dez is the same thing. I mean, he just hasn't produced. He had 1 catch last week.
Yeah, it was minimal.
Maybe 2. I don't even remember.
I presume they're starting Castle again.
Oh yeah, Castle's going to go again. So you got a guy who doesn't have the arm strength to get downfield. At least he doesn't seem to.
Mm-hmm.
They're going up against the Jets. Revis, I think, is back. I mean, sure. I mean, there's no such thing as Revis Island anymore.
No.
But this is still a good Jets defense. And with the way Dez has been performing, I am benching Dez Bryant in the playoffs, which is, I mean, it's painful. This is a guy I held on to for like 7 weeks or 6 weeks while he recovered. A guy I invested a first-round draft pick in. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be benching him in my playoff game. I mean, if I'm doing it, you should do it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think also the worrying thing for me is that in some NFL leagues, you actually have undroppable players.
Yeah. And he would be one of them.
He's one of them. Antonio Brown's one of them. Gronk's one of them that you actually can't drop. So you're fucked. You know, you can sit him, but you can't actually drop him and pick someone else up, which is really annoying. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, well, I think it's to like guard against people cheating.
Oh, okay, fine.
But yeah,
still,
yeah,
free choice, man.
Yeah.
It's very anti-American.
It is.
There's no freedom involved. If I want to drop Dez Bryant, I should be able to.
Yeah, I want to drop Adrian Peterson this week. Why not?
Why the fuck not?
So there's a few other guys you wanted to talk about quickly.
Yeah. I was thinking, I mean, just these might be people that you might want to worry about or think about, because I think there are some things to question really here. One is maybe Tyler Eifert over in Cincinnati, and that's for 2 reasons. So one is that, okay, so he has a great rapport with Dalton, but Dalton's out for the rest of the season, or we think until at least week 17.
Yeah, even
it doesn't require surgery, so if they're in the playoffs, he might be back. But again, you know, if you've got a broken thumb on your throwing hand, what are you going to be able to do?
Yeah, can you trust Eifert with AJ McCarron throwing to him?
And the other issue is Eifert left the game early, so he's questionable. I think he's in concussion protocol. Exactly. So it might be a bad concussion. We don't know. I don't think it is. The backup tight end there is another Tyler called Tyler Croft.
Okay.
And he's done nothing this season. But I mean, I think it's just something to look at whether, I mean, I'm not saying Eifert's droppable, because I think actually with McCarron, he might even be very useful.
Yeah, it could be a security blanket.
Security blanket, exactly. But I mean, I wouldn't touch Croft. I think there are other tight end options that are probably on waivers that you could look at for this next couple of weeks. Eric Ebron, for example, against the Saints, somebody like that. You've got Benjamin Watson, who's probably still available in some leagues.
Austin Safarian-Jenkins.
Tampa. Exactly. Zach
of
Miller, Rhett Ellison. Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, there's other tight ends you wouldn't trust them.
Yeah, I think so.
The deepest of leagues, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense. Anyway, speaking of Tampa.
There
is a wide receiver situation. Vincent Jackson's out.
Yep.
Done for the year. Same knee, got screwed.
So Mike Evans is
going to be picking up everything. Yeah, they're going up against somebody really bad this week too.
They are. I don't think it's Atlanta, but I can't remember who they are.
But yeah, it's a bad pass defense from what I recall. So yeah, you got no Vincent Jackson, which means Mike Evans is a surefire starter. As we just mentioned, Austin Safarian-Jenkins, who's been coming back into the game plan, right? Oh, it's the Rams. It's not such a bad. Yeah, all right. I'm just making stuff up in my dreams as usual. Anyway, I mean, the other thing you got to think about is the wide receiver that's going to replace Vincent Jackson, right?
Sure.
And we got a couple options: is the Adam Humphries show, or the I think it's Dante Ty.
Yeah.
Dante Ty. Neither guy has been electrifying. Of the two, Humphries has a bit of a track record, at least. I think he had 5 grabs 1 week a few weeks back. Both had one catch last week, but Humphreys was the guy who got the touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, if you're desperate, dire straits
In a very deep league.
You got to think about Humphreys, right?
Fine.
But that would be the only thing I could mention, right?
Yeah.
Other guys, I think we should talk about here the guys catching fire a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think over the last couple of weeks we've seen Golden Tate, who's probably sitting on a lot of people's benches.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing he's owned in most leagues,
Right.
But he hasn't done much for most of the season. It's only been the last 3 or 4 weeks that we've seen him really come into his own, and well, probably from Thanksgiving onwards, where he walked into the end zone backwards. I think. Yeah, exactly.
Or was that the one for?
It was the forward one that he walked into.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's looking good. I think he's got a touchdown in sort of 3 of the last 4 weeks or something like that. He's getting those touchdowns from Megatron.
Yep.
I'm not saying Megatron's sittable, and especially not against New Orleans. You got to like both of them, I think.
Oh yeah,
and Stafford as well.
I mean, I've got Golden Tate on my bench in our flea flicker.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to get him back in there. I mean, I started him for the first few weeks this year. He was just a dumpster fire.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, I'm gonna start him this week because he's just on fire.
Yeah, he's a nice one. I think he's got
somebody that people might have forgotten about, and you should really get him on your starting lineup. I think. Right.
I like him as a high end flex or even low low wide receiver too this week. Actually. Yeah. Against the Saints. I mean, you can start any wide receiver against the Saints.
I'm getting them in there
pretty much.
The running back situation in Kansas City. Something else to watch out.
Something else. There's a bit of news that came down. We saw Spencer Ware go out with some bruised ribs. So I think he only had about 16 touches or something like that on Sunday.
No, I think it was even 16 snaps.
16 snaps, right, okay.
Bruised ribs. We're talking about a pain issue here.
Yeah.
The X-rays were negative, right?
So he's going to have to manage that pain. He'll probably be there. I think I don't know. This week, that was a weird game. It was, 10-3 or whatever it was. Or 10-7 or something. I can't remember what it was. So it wasn't a pretty game. Both backs, I think, got just over 50 yards and there were no touchdowns.
Right.
So it's a bit running back by committee there. The problem is I think West takes a hit because of Ware. I prefer West overall, I think.
Yeah, I think Troy Kendrick's startable.
Oh, yeah.
Ware's a guy I'm not going to start this week anywhere. Well, I mean, 16-plus leagues,
sure.
You're going to get him in there. And he might vulture a touchdown. But I'd be wary of Ware. Oh,
no, I think...
I see what I did there.
Wary of Ware. The other guy I think is to think about moving back to wide receivers is someone who's probably on the cusp of starting and who's kind of on that border that you can think about would be T.Y. Hilton.
All right.
I think Dave Richard had him somewhere around between that 20 to 24 range, something like that. So some people are saying start him. The only reason I'm worried is that so Luck's very unlikely to start.
Right, the quarterback situation, right? Is the old man healthy?
Hasselback, we don't know. I mean, he's questionable, and if he's not good to go, then you've got Clipboard Jesus starting. You've got Charlie Whitehurst starting.
Yeah, I'm not going to start a wide receiver with Charlie Whitehurst as your quarterback. I'm staying away from. Indianapolis. God. We can talk all day about the woes of Indy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to watch that QB situation. I think. If
the old man goes, I think Hilton's fine. If Charlie Whitehurst, then no. I mean, you'll probably get a bump for Frank Gore, but that's about it, I think.
Makes sense to me, man.
Cool. So, we just tried to give you there a couple of people that we think is worth looking at, and also some things to look at coming into the weekend that you want to keep a monitor on when it comes to injuries and who's going to be starting and stuff like that.
It is the playoffs. You better be paying attention.
Exactly. And now it's time for one of our regular sections, that's Fantasy Catnip and Fantasy Kryptonite. So we'll start with Catnip and we'll look forward to week 15, obviously. So who do you like?
So these are guys we love. And I'm cheating a bit this week because I love me some Carson Palmer.
Some Palmer love.
I know there's no way you're contemplating benching Carson Palmer right now.
But you like him, yeah?
Yeah, the idea, I guess, here is just I want to pick somebody who's going to do well.
So why specifically him against the Eagles?
Oh, because it's the Eagles. There you go. I think you just said it. The Eagles, I notice, have given up the most fantasy points to fantasy QBs the past 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
This is the Eagles. I mean, and it's the Cardinals. I mean, look at the offense, right?
Yeah.
The targets, the options. The running back coming out of the backfield. I mean, he's got so many places to throw the ball. The guy's an MVP candidate for Christmas.
He is, yeah. And definitely comeback player of the year.
Yeah, I almost think there's no doubt, right? So I just wanted to get a Carson Palmer shout out.
Fine.
For my catnip, because he's going to go for 400 yards and 4 TDs.
Oh, wow. Okay, fine. 400. I'd probably temper that. I'd probably say between 290 and 320. Okay, but the 4 TDs I think is absolutely possible.
Yeah, it's doable. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who do you love this week?
Actually, another quarterback I quite like is I've mentioned him already, but I think Matt Stafford against New Orleans.
All right. Another crap defense.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that when Jim Bob Cooter lets him throw, he throws and they catch.
You just like seeing Jim Bob.
I love Cooter. I love me some Cooter. We've already talked about Tate. Megatron when he was throwing to him on Thanksgiving.
We talked about Riddick.
3 touchdowns. We've talked about Riddick. We've got Eric Ebron. Exactly. This has got a bit of a hot game on it, I think, and you can now watch him crash and burn and throw 3 picks.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a shootout regardless, right?
I think this one for me on paper looks like a bit of a shootout. You've got 2 quite poor defenses. New Orleans is poor.
Detroit's middling.
I think so. So Stafford is. I think Dave Richards got him ranked 13th, so he doesn't think he's startable. I see him as absolutely startable.
Get him in your lineup.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm going to agree with you. Matt Stafford started out slow this year. He had a really good middle of the year, and he's kind of kept it up, right? Mm-hmm. Golden's helping him out. Get Matt in there.
Kryptonite?
So I went a bit cheesy with my catnip, so I'm going to go a little bit controversial with my kryptonite here. I'm going to go with the muscle hamster.
Ooh.
Yeah, Doug Martin.
So you don't like him?
Yeah. There's not a lot of logic behind this. They are going up against the Rams, so it's a decent defense. Basically, it's a decent defense that's getting back to its elite status because they're getting healthier. Mm-hmm. They're getting a lot of guys back.
Well, they got to rely on that D because that offense is an absolute dumpster fire outside of Todd Gurley.
Yeah, no, it's a bad team. It's really bad.
It is. Seriously.
The Rams are one of those teams that needs to run the ball and have a strong defense. It's just the way the head coach wants it, right? Fisher loves him some running and defense. And so I think that this week, we've seen Doug Martin do really well the last few weeks. I think this week, the Rams shut down the run. This is what they're going to try to do.
Right.
They're going to force the rookie to throw the ball. And I think he will throw the ball. Now Vincent Jackson's out, but he's still got enough targets to go around. They got Sims, they got Austin Seferian, they got, of course, Vince Evans.
Yeah.
So I think Doug Martin gets stopped. The Rams score an early defensive touchdown, and Tampa Bay's forced to throw the ball.
Wow.
Doug Martin winds up with your 50, 60 points, 50 yards.
Wow. Well, he did do that once when he scored those 4 touchdowns and 200 yards.
But I think he's a guy who you might think about benching if you got a better alternative.
Okay, fine.
Just think about it. Who do you hate? Who's your kryptonite?
Who do I hate? Oh, it's going back to New England and the running back situation, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz down there, isn't there?
There is. So there's issues, really. The person I'm picking out there is Brandon Bolden.
Okay.
Who is sort of ranked in that 20 to 24 range by quite a lot of experts.
Yeah, he's a guy who would be on the cusp, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're debating whether to start him or not.
Right. On Sunday, he went for 51 yards on 16 carries against Houston. So it's a good Houston team, which is 3.2 yards a carry. It's nothing amazing.
Nope.
You've got James White there, and Blount, we don't know, he was banged up. I think it's a hip injury.
Yeah, I don't think he's been ruled out.
No, so it's questionable. I think this really relies on what happens with Blount. If Blount is good to go, Bolden, I think, is much lower than 22nd.
Oh, yeah.
Even if Blount is out, I don't like Bolden at 22.
Okay.
I like him in sort of that 28 to 32 range, something like that. I prefer James White. That said, the Titans against the rush are absolutely terrible.
Okay.
I just prefer White, especially in terms of touchdowns and receiving. I think there's more.
So if you had to pick between the White and Bolden show, you'd go with the White.
Yeah, but without any confidence whatsoever. I would say. I would.
Yeah, it is New England. You never know. In the playoffs, you don't want to be relying on Belichick. Right?
Exactly. I do actually have James White in one of my leagues. I think I've started him in. Once.
Okay.
And that was the week after the little guy went out.
So if we got a better option, stay away from Bolden.
Yeah, I would absolutely.
Deal, my friend.
Cool. And now it's time for
Game of Intrigue.
Dun dun dun.
Want to start it off, my friend?
Yeah.
What game are you going to be watching?
This has got shootout. Actually, no, it doesn't have shootout all over it. I was going to say it did, but it didn't. But I think it is intriguing for a number of reasons. I'm looking at Broncos Steelers.
All right.
what we've got here, we've got the league's most explosive offense going up against the meanest pass defense.
Yeah.
And I mean the meanest. I mean, they're still not allowing more than about 9-10 yards to wide receivers, 9-10 points to wide receivers.
So yeah, you get the passing offense against the passing defense.
Exactly.
Probably number one on both sides, I would guess. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the Steelers receivers were kind of limited against the Bengals on Sunday. Well, it was weird. It's not that they were limited. It's just that it was so spread out.
Yeah.
So you had 4 players over 50 yards.
Yeah, Heath Miller had like 10 receptions.
Exactly. I think it was a career high, or it tied his career high. No one got over 90 yards, and no one got any touchdowns.
Yeah, there's just so many mouths to feed there, right?
There is.
It's a wealth of choice. There's even Will Wheaton's doing pretty good.
Will Wheaton? No, not Will Wheaton.
That's the guy
Marcus
from Star Trek.
Wheaton. Yeah. Will Wheaton would have been awesome. Coming out of retirement.
Yeah, all right.
Wow, that's a blast from the past.
I like it.
Enterprise, yeah?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Crusher, right?
Yeah, fine. That's what I thought. Anyway, so Will Wheaton and Beverly Crusher are starting for the Broncos.
Watch out this week.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
no, seriously, you got Martavis Bryant, you got Antonio Brown. There's a lot of targets. Can Denver cover them all?
No. Brown's a start, Bryant's a start, Wheaton's a sit. I'd probably sit Heath Miller this week as well, I think.
Okay.
I think Bryant, I mean, both of those are now top 20 receivers going into most weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you can't bench him now. You got to ride your horses in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the reason why I'd maybe not quite so hot on Miller is that you're kind of relying on the yardage. He's not a red zone threat at all. There's only 1 touchdown there all season.
Oh, that's surprising.
I know, exactly. So if he gets the receptions, so he's good on PPR. But anything else, really not so hot, I don't think. I mean, he got, 10 receptions on 55 yards. So it's only 5 yards a catch, which is small, right?
And you're going to rely on Roethlisberger this week?
Yeah, I think you could probably. I mean, he's not as high as I'd probably have him, but he's top 10. Yeah, he's top 10. Right, probably.
He's starting unless you got Tom Brady or something on your team.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're one of those people that took a quarterback very high and then maybe picked up Ben in the 6th round, then yeah, I would say so. Right. And then on the other side, the main question hanging over the Broncos really is actually whether Manning will re-enter the fray.
Yeah, he's practicing, huh?
They haven't. I don't know if he practiced on Tuesday. I'm not sure. For now, it seems unlikely, but he might return to the practice field at some point this week. If he does look okay, I guess it might be a late decision on who starts.
Yeah, I don't think they'll risk him this week.
No,
I mean, they don't need to win, do they? I mean, the Chiefs are probably going to be challenging them.
The Chiefs will be challenging him. I mean, I think at the moment, they'll win the division, but it's not confirmed yet actually who's going to be going into the bye. So they still do need to win. Osweiler was okay in that weird loss. He had his first 300-yard passing game, but the offense kind of struggled to turn that into points. So Vernon Davis was fantasy relevant, but I'm not sure how many people are going to start him on a week-to-week basis. And I'd be worried if I'd much go for someone I'd trust, I think. As always, the worry is in the running game, which disappeared again. 28 total yards this week. 28 total yards for the entire team.
Was Hillman hurt? Did anything happen to C.J. Anderson?
Anderson didn't play a snap.
Okay.
And Hillman just disappeared. I mean, 28 yards.
Yeah, that's crap.
And this week they're up against the second best run defense in the league.
No, really? Pittsburgh's doing that well.
Yeah, they're so good. They're not so good against the pass, but against the run, they're amazing.
Okay.
So I'd be wary on relying on Hillman, and he's a sit for me this week, I think.
That could be a bit of a function, like the Pittsburgh defense being so good against the run because teams have to pass to keep up with them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Denver's running game, we don't have to mention it again.
It's a dumpster fire. It's an absolute dumpster fire.
Always.
So, which game do you like?
I've picked the Panthers. Does anybody notice that they were 14-0? 13-0. Sorry.
Do you think it would be good for them to lose a game?
Well, this week against the Giants, no.
At the Giants, but there's some interesting matchups within that.
So you mean so they don't have so much pressure being an undefeated team?
Yeah, because then you've got that expectation. They're bound for the Super Bowl, and I don't think it's that easy.
Yeah, isn't it funny though how little you're hearing about it? What if it was the Patriots that were undefeated still?
Sure,
it's all I'd be talking about is can they do it again? Yeah. Can they go undefeated? Can they finish the Super Bowl season?
And in that respect, maybe they don't need to lose that game. Maybe they are still under the radar at 14-0.
Strangely,
it's bonkers.
How can you be 13-0, right?
So.
Oh no, 14-0. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're 14-0.
They've had the bye, right?
They've had the bye, yeah. Exactly,
and this is week 15, right?
Yeah.
So
they're 13-0. Yeah, sorry, 13-0.
We're just a little drunk. Sorry. We can't help it counting. But yeah, so I mean, they are the quietest 13-0 team in history, probably.
Pretty
I
much.
guess there's only been a couple, so.
It's been 2, right?
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the Panthers, can carry on the undefeated season, right? I mean, it is time to talk about them being that good, right?
Yeah.
Historically good, right?
I think so.
The one thing that I'm sure all fans were holding their breath when tight end Greg Olsen went down in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
The knee went a little bit funny.
Kind of got it caught under him, didn't he?
Yeah. It could have all, the whole season could have been thrown out the window right there.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to rely on Ted Ginn Jr. to catch all those balls, right?
No. Sometimes he will, sometimes he won't.
But according to Rivera, it's just a tweak. He's going to start. But yeah, you got to keep your eye on him, obviously, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think he's going to be good to go. But you got to keep an eye on it. Same story. Running back, Jonathan Stewart.
Right.
I think it was his knee.
Yeah.
I'm not even
I
too
think
sure
so.
to tell you. Oh, no, his foot I got written down
Foot.
here, yeah. Seemed to hurt at the end of the first half. He had, in the first half, 10 carries for 75 yards.
He was looking good.
And then he disappeared because he got hurt. So is he hurt? If he's a little bit hurt, do they bench him?
Do you think about sort of backing that up or sort of, if he is questionable going in, would you think about picking up Cameron Artis-Payne?
Yeah, I got a bid on him in my flea flicker. I don't know if I'd start him.
Right. But just in case Stewart's out.
There's always Fozzie Whitaker too.
No, exactly. And Tolbert.
Exactly, Tolbert. In bigger leagues, those guys become more relevant.
Sure.
I don't think any of them are startable in your 10, 12 team leagues.
So it's just a question of checking your RB status, your RB1 status.
Yeah. Stewart is obviously your starter if he's healthy, right? But I think they'll be careful with him, right?
I would think
And
so.
I'd be curious if the rookie gets the start if he didn't, right? If that Payne kid goes. Because we haven't even seen him this year, have we?
No, I think he's had a couple of rushes, but very little.
Yeah, anyways. It's a bit of a murky backfield situation. And then, of course, you got Ted Ginn Jr., as we mentioned, the epitome of boom or bust. And he can catch the ball. He had that nice...
Wow, he had a 75-yard and a 45-yard or something?
It was actually a tough catch.
Yeah,
it was harder than it looked. That
He's
really
using
long
Stickum.
way. Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, do you feel lucky with him always?
Sure.
Right? If you got him on your team...
You can't not, really.
I know.
As a flex, easily.
It depends on your team, I guess, but you're right. I would feel stupid not starting him.
I think so.
Definitely in 12-plus leagues, right?
Plus, I mean, I think the thing is, okay, so he drops a lot, but the guy scores a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's being thrown to a lot, isn't he?
Well,
I
this
mean,
is
that's
the thing, right?
yeah.
Well, he only had a couple grabs last week, but both grabs were long, I
Yeah.
think, right? But it's the lack of options, right? That they've got down there. I mean, the Devin Funchess has been doing better week to week.
Sure,
I don't think he did
you've
much
got
last
Cotchery.
week, though. You got Cotchery, who the old man's been doing stuff now and then, right?
Yeah.
And then you got, what's his name, Brown, right?
Corey Philly Brown.
Yeah, Philly. There you go.
Philly Brown.
Who, again, he's a speedster who just doesn't seem to ever quite do what he needs to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 2 grabs last week for 120 for Ted Ginn.
I mean, he's got 200.
grabs
He's
for
got
120.
200 yards and 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks
On 7 grabs only.
on 7 grabs. I mean, it's not bad, right?
This is the thing. I mean, 4 touchdowns. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay, you're starting him.
Yeah, I would have thought so, right?
I admit it. You're
Against
starting
the Giants, I think you probably are.
him. Yeah, okay. Get him
And
in.
so on the Giants side of things,
Well, I mean, I think they're the best team in the NFC East, which says more about the NFC East, of course, right?
yeah, I mean, essentially it's Eli and ODB
Yeah.
and
Against the
OBJ,
rest of the division.
or whatever you want to call it, Odobeka, yeah.
OBJ. Yeah.
OBJ, not ODB.
ODBJ.
ODBJ, old dirty bastard.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants they're okay. I mean, because they have that, right?
They're a they're a two-man team.
Yeah, I mean, you do have Rashad Jennings, who, I mean, he's been kind of by default become the lead back.
Yeah,
which
Vereen's done nothing.
Yeah, exactly. He was supposed to be a running back by committee.
Yeah.
Williams had that big fumble last week. He got benched, didn't see another carry.
Yeah,
Shane Vereen's been forgotten about.
totally.
I mean,
He's not even a passing back any longer.
I don't know, it's weird. They're just not even using him.
No.
So, I mean, Rashad Jennings is one of those guys who I would be sitting there going, do I start him?
He's one of those borderline ones, I think.
Against the Panthers, probably not.
No, I don't
right?
think so. They got too good a D.
He could be a flex if you need it, I suppose, right? But I mean, yeah, everybody else is off the radar in the backfield. And the pass catchers, I mean, I was looking, there were 3 guys who had 5 grabs after Odell, yeah?
Right.
Of course, you got Odell as above everybody. And then you get the epitome of mediocrity in the middle there, right?
So Beckham Few is what, like a low-end flex this week?
For Beckham? Yeah. I thought I was in an alternate universe. God. If I just had
low-end
Beckham,
flex.
If I had Beckham on any of my teams.
I didn't pick him this week.
I was trying to trade for him earlier in the year. Try to trade Gronk, because I got that
Yeah,
offer.
yeah.
He was offering me Calvin Johnson, and I said, well, how about Odell?
Yeah, and he's like, no way.
No way, man. Anyway.
Apparently, he's in his first 2 seasons, he is, so I think that's now 25 games, he is first in yards, receptions, and touchdowns.
For that many games played.
Yeah, and in terms of touchdowns, only Gronk is within 9 touchdowns of him.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's historically good. Yeah. But anyway, the other pass catchers, you gotta look at the tight end. Will Ty
has kind of been useful, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's probably, you can think about him as a tight end 1.
Yeah, I think so.
Get him into your team. But the other guys this week, you got the Ruben Randalls, you got the Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're startable in your larger leagues. But I'd stay away if I was you up against the Panthers. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And now it's time for our Fantasy Trust Tree.
Your favorite part of the week?
I like it. I like it when we get in touch with our listeners, and especially, I mean, it seems like we've got a lot of celebrity listeners.
I think so.
And international
judging
as well.
by the letters we get.
Exactly.
Emails, telegrams.
We've got another one here. Dear Rankings Attack. I was in Las Vegas on Tuesday night, and I was watching the Republican candidate debate on CNN. That I was pretty much a part of it. Let's just say none of these are presidential material, really, especially the one with the toupee. Mm-hmm. But someone's got to win that vote, I suppose. So if you need, what do we call a plug-and-play presidential candidate for these turbulent weeks, who do you like as your savior? And that's a W. Blitzer.
In Vegas. Huh, Mr. Blitzer.
Exactly. So he's giving us 3 candidates for this week, and they happen to be running back candidates.
Okay, so running back candidate headaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Problems, decisions, as always, yeah?
Yeah. Essentially, who's going to be the best of a bad lot?
All right, who's our options?
So our options are, these are people that might still be available, if you're lucky, on waivers.
Could be.
Some of these are highly owned, some of these aren't. So I've got Tim Hightower, New Orleans, going against Detroit.
Okay.
James White, who's going for the Patriots, going up against Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And Denard Robinson, who is going up against the Atlanta Falcons.
All right.
Who do you like this week?
Well, I guess let's do as we always do.
Process of elimination.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do our Sherlock and them.
So who is guaranteed to start out of those 3? Anybody?
Well, I think Hightower and Robinson are guaranteed to start.
Guaranteed? Is Yeldon ruled out?
I think he's a very questionable.
I think so too. I don't think they're going to risk the rookie.
Yeah, I mean he's not a P. I don't think so.
All right, so we got White, who is, let's say, in RB by committee, yeah?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, even if he is the first back on the field, I don't think you can count him as the guy who's necessarily going to get you the most points.
Okay. And who are they going up against?
They're going against Tennessee, who are actually 10th best against running backs.
So should we throw White out of the mix?
I think we should.
Oh, Bellatrix, let's get him out of the mix.
Yeah, let's get rid of him. So the other one, so Hightower is the absolute guaranteed start there.
Yeah.
CJ Spiller.
They just don't know how to use him.
Spiller, I've had you on my team for 3 years. I kept you last year when you sucked. I kept you as one of my keepers this year and think, okay, you're in a new situation. And what the fuck are you doing to me, CJ?
I don't know. Every year it's the same. You're right.
I'm going to drop him this year.
I think you might.
He's just not worth keeping. Anyway.
Hightower is going to
Hightower, he's done well over the last couple of weeks. I think he had 85 and a touchdown in week 14. They're going against Detroit, who are middle of the pack when it comes to defending against running backs. So I don't mind him this week.
I like Hightower. I mean, I remember when he played for the Cardinals a few years back.
Yeah.
He disappeared last year. Yeah, he was out for a year with an injury.
Yeah.
And then just reappeared all of a sudden this year. I do like me some Hightower. That being said, I like Denard Robinson. He kind of helped me so much in my 20-team league last year.
Right.
Because he had the running back wide receiver designation.
Exactly. So
beautiful.
He was a perfect flex.
Yeah, he really was. And if TJ Yeldon's out, then all of a sudden you got this team who scored 50 points last week, the Jaguars.
And they're going up against the Falcons, who are 3rd worst in the league against running backs, giving up almost 21 points a game.
You're killing me here. 21 points a game. I mean, I was about to say Hightower, and then you got Atlanta.
I think if Yeldon's out, Robinson's the one to start.
Okay, yeah, here you go. That's how we'll decide it.
Yeah.
If Yeldon is not a starter, you start Robinson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it depends on
Yeldon is out for the game, I start
Robinson over Hightower. If Yeldon's in, I'd start Hightower over Robinson, I think.
We agree.
Fantastic. And on that note, and on that consensus, level of consensus you are never going to find in a presidential debate.
Ever. Except for Bernie Sanders.
Possibly. We are going to say goodbye for now, and we'll catch you up, hopefully, in preparation for week 16, but it's not confirmed yet.
Yeah, it's all about Skype.
It's all about Skyping.
Later, guys.
Take care.